Welcome, foolish mortals, to a Haunted Mansion review. Let's talk about it. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Movie Emporium's movie review of The Haunted Mansion, the newest film from director Justin Simien. So in this new iteration, or this revamped version of the Haunted Mansion that is based off the ride, this story tells the story of Ben, who of course is played by LaKeith Stanfield. He's an individual that is going through some trauma, but in the process, he is basically hired by this young mother and her son, who are played by Rosario, Dawson, and Dillon, to basically find out what is keeping them in this house. Why are these ghosts there? What is their problem? And in the process of everything, several different characters, which include Owen Wilson, who plays a priest, and people like Tiffany Haddish, who plays a seance individual, and of course Danny Devito, who plays a professor, have to uncover the mystery of what exactly is going on, what exactly is keeping these ghosts there, why are they trapped there, and in the process they uncover mysteries that lead to characters that you've seen in the ride, if you've ever in the ride, like I have a billion times. And so therefore the mystery, when it opens up, it uncovers dark secrets in a lot of respects. So that's kind of like the non-spoiler take on this film. It's a film that very much adheres to the kind of storyline that we see in the Disney ride, but you know, it's a movie that is much more trying to keep in line with the source material of the original ride itself. So with the Haunted Mansion, it's my favorite ride in Disney. It's one of my favorite attractions of all time. I love it. I love everything about it. I love the atmosphere, the ghostly nature, the comedic nature that it has in the story. I love, just the idea of just like this haunted house that just has all these apparitions, and it's just like a story about a caretaker and a woman who's axed her fiance's heads off in like the graveyard. Everything about the ride is just absolutely spectacular. So when they made a film back in like 2003 to 2005 or whatever with Eddie Murphy, I was looking forward to it because I felt it was going to be a fun film. It didn't turn out real well, to be fairly honest. It was a pretty big bomb, and it was a pretty bad film, and kind of unlike the Pirates of the Caribbean movie, was not very good, to be fairly honest. So with that said, Guillermo del Toro was planning on working on this film, or had been working on this film for, not this particular film, but a film of the Haunted Mansion for quite a long time. It was going to be a much, much darker film. So finally, this film was finally directed and has finally found its cast and is now releasing in theaters. And it's a film that, I wasn't like what I would call anticipating, but the trailers looked fun. You bring in like Jamie Lee Curtis, who's playing Madame Leota, and some of the way the trailer played out, it looked like it was gonna have a lot of homages to the ride itself, which, like Pirates of the Caribbean and some other films that have been live action. That's kind of what you want. The Muppets Haunted Mansion movie that came out on Disney Plus was that exact same thing, where it had homages, but it also played to its material. So it's not that I was worried about this film not being very good. It's just, who knows when it comes to these, based on attraction rides. For every Pirates of the Caribbean, there's a Country Bears movie. And so with that said, I mean, it is what it is. Justin Simien, of course, is known for doing Dear White People and Bad Hair. So he's a very talented director. And this movie felt like it could be a very interesting take on that material. So with that said, my honest review of this movie. So do you find yourself out there in the world trying to find a book to read? Everything is not speaking to you. You want to find something a little more over the top and crazy and silly, unlike the typical tropey books that are out today. Well, personally, I found a book just for you. This book, which is called J.R. Castillo Comes Home, which is written by Johnny A. Mann, is a story of a writer from that comes back to his hometown. He's a noir writer, and he tries to get back with his high school crush, as well as dealing with a serial killer in his hometown. And as you expect, if you read Johnny A. Mann's material before, it's over the top, it's silly, it's graphic, and it's a lot of fun because there's a lot of heart and inventiveness put into it. But it's also a book that, is unique for its own right, and it's a book that I definitely recommend. If you read anything else that he's written, it's something that you might find fun, you might find entertaining, and I highly recommend it. So, definitely check it out. It's currently on Barnes & Noble's online retail store. But once again, that is J.R. Castillo Comes Home, which is written once again by Johnny A. Mann. And yeah, it's a book that I highly recommend. So definitely check it out, and we'll see you soon. Bye, guys. The first portion of this movie is pretty rough, to be fairly honest. And I'm not going to spoil too much of it, but I mean, if you know the Haunted Mansion, you know kind of the gist of what the story's doing because it plays pretty close to it, as well as adding new things. But I think the way it's edited, the way it's paced, the way it's shot, there's some mistakes that are made that aren't necessarily good. There's some use of camera movements that are really jarring and kind of take you out of the movie. I think the setup's interesting, but I think the idea of what LaKeith Stanfield's character is going through is very interesting, but it does it really quickly and really kind of not sporadically, but it does it in this kind of weird edit motion that it just kind of was really jarring. But after that, and after you get the main players into the movie and they kind of settle down and you watch them, kind of go through the motions of this movie, and you get the villains and you get the ghosts and you get the different characters playing out, I think that's when this movie becomes really strong, to be fairly honest. And it's not on the homages, it's not on the Easter eggs, it's not on anything like that. It's the fact that these characters, though in different forms of factors of like goofiness, there is some real emotion and real dimension to these characters that really sets this film apart from a lot of attraction-based movies, where especially LaKeith Stanfield's character, there's a lot of emotional heart to his character, and it plays really well against the archetypes and stereotypes that they could put in this movie and some of the ghosts and stuff like that. And I really felt like it worked. I felt like it was a very well thought out, well positioned. It had a lot of messaging about, being who you are and what you are, and not relying on, the sense of like, having to let your emotions get the best of you. It's about strength of individual. And I really found that empowering in a lot of respects. And I really find that, LaKeith Stanfield's character has really strong emotions that really pay out really, really well. And that's really a lot of fun to see. He's also having a lot of fun, which is nice. And I really felt that. And I really felt that was really nice and really interesting. I really like what, Owen Wilson's going to do what Owen Wilson does. So there's not really what I call a big emotional arc there, but it's Owen Wilson. So you either take him or leave him. It's the same thing with Tiffany Haddish. She's doing what Tiffany Haddish does. It's on the unfortunate nature of these two individuals about who they are. Danny DeVito, same way. So it's not like they're bad. It's just they are who they are, and there's not really change to their characters. But I like them in this movie. The whole chemistry between all these characters works really well. I love Rosario Dawson as Rosario Dawson's character, about how she's tormented by these ghosts and they need to figure out a way to work together. And I like the idea of the young kid and how he's very relatable to LaKeith Stanfield in a lot of ways, and how, he's that kid that's picked on, but he has, a real good sense of like why he is the way he is and the way it plays out. And once again, I don't want to spoil it for you, but there's a lot of emotional heart there that really shines through with LaKeith's Ben character. And of course, Chase Dillon's Travis character. And I found that really fascinating. I really did. There's a lot of emotional stakes that I was not expecting this movie to have for something being called the Haunted Mansion. So therefore I was really, really surprised. But the real question you honestly want to know is like, does this movie really kind of, does it pay respect to the ride itself, to the material in the actual attraction? And it really does. It really does it very well too. There's a lot of Easter eggs that you'll notice. There's a lot of ideas that are being thrown out that kind of expand upon some of the scenes you see in the ride itself. And they're actually well done. They're well represented. There are some things that, are just kind of in there and out there really quickly. But it expands upon like the Hat Ghost character, and expands upon like Madame Leota, and expands upon this particular kind of ghost that you see. And they're really well like animated and drawn, and their CGI is really nice, and how you see them and how you kind of position and stuff like that. And their kind of motives and creatives they're not necessarily like specters that are or phantoms that are creating chaos. They're there for a specific reason, and they have a specific purpose. And it's a lot of fun to see. They don't take down the movie at all. They actually add some fun and intrigue and entertaining value to it. There's the character of Gracie, who's like the kind of the main structure point to the ride itself, and he has an interesting arc. Overall, like the ghosts are the ones you remember, the ones you always see in like the paintings, or in the dining room scene, or just in the graveyard. There's just a lot of characters you'll recognize, and you'll be like, oh, I know that one, and especially for somebody who's a huge fan of the Haunted Mansion to begin with. There's stuff that I saw, like some of the gravestones that you see, or some of the characters that you see that you may like miss when you're riding the ride, that I noticed, like maybe with the clock or the candlestick or the staircase or the opera ghost and stuff like that. There's a lot of those things in there, and you can really tell that Justin Simien and the crew, the cinematographer and the visual work artist and stuff like that, he really either really loves this ride or he understands what makes a movie like this work and when it doesn't work and so on and so forth. So the Easter eggs are in there, but they're not like so overtly making you aware that if you didn't know what they are not going to like suspend your disbelief or anything like that. But I thought it was a nicely touched point. I think all the Easter eggs and stuff like that I saw are well positioned. I love what they do with it. I love what they do with the stretching room. I just this movie overall is just in a very entertaining film. It has its flaws with like the pacing and some of the character arcs and developments, you know, just the nature of like how it starts out. There are some flaws that make this movie a little bit strange to begin with, and it definitely feels like a popcorn summer movie, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. And I feel that overall that the film just justifiably works on a entertainment value level. And I think this is a very strong attraction adaptation to a movie that I've seen in quite a while. So, but with that said, that's gonna be my take on Haunted Mansion, the newest film based off Attraction. Like I said, very strange that they do these films, but you know, it is what it is. So with that said, in the comments below, what is your favorite Disney attraction or Universal attraction? What is your favorite kind of film to adaptation from an attraction, say Pirates or something like that? Let me know in the comments below. But otherwise, if you like what you see on this channel, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell, top the fun is coming next. If you like this video, awesome, hit that like button, and as always, we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out.